بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله صلى الله وسلم وبارك على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. The last chapter we mentioned and went over from Sunan Abi Dawood was regarding missing Jumu'ah and was regarding the expiation, the kafara for missing Jumu'ah, meaning without an excuse. Is there something that you have to pay? Is there some type of atonement, some kafara that you have to give, some type of donation for intentionally missing Jumu'ah? And obviously that was speaking on Jumu'ah in general, but we read about missing 3 Jumu'ahs and what will happen to the person who misses 3 Jumu'ahs, obviously without a valid excuse, that Allah will seal his heart and make his heart like that of a munafiq. Allah musta'an. So next chapter, Imam Abu Dawood rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, Babu man tajibu alayhi al-Jumu'ah. حدثنا أحمد بن صالح قال حدثنا ابن وهب قال أخبرني عمرو عن عبيد الله بن أبي جعفر أن محمد بن جعفر حدثه عن عروة بن الزبير عن عائشة زوج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنها قالت كان الناس ينتابون الجمعة من منازلهم ومن العوالي. حدثنا محمد بن يحيى بن فارس قال حدثنا قبيصة قال حدثنا سفيان عن محمد بن سعيد يعني الطائفي عن أبي سلمة بن نبيه عن عبد الله بن هارون عن عبد الله بن عمرو عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال الجمعة على كل من سمع النداء. قال أبو داود روى هذا الحديث جماعة عن سفيان مقصورا على عبد الله بن عمرو ولم يرفعوه وإنما أسنده قبيصة. So he mentions who is Jumu'ah mandatory upon, who has to go, who has to attend, who receives this threat of missing the Jumu'ahs consecutively in the law putting a seal upon his heart. Everyone? Or are there people who are exempt from attending the Jumu'ah prayer? So there are 2 hadiths that Imam Abu Dawood mentions in his Sunan here in this chapter. The first is hadith number 1555. And Imam Abu Dawood rahimahullah, he gives his sanad, his chain of narration that goes back to Aisha. You know, the pleased with her. She said, كَانَ النَّاسُ يَنْتَابُونَ الْجُمُعَةَ, is that the people used to attend Jumu'ah. They used to go to Jumu'ah from their manazil and from the awali, meaning from a relatively far distance. Awali, the Prophet's masjid, it was some type of distance. It wasn't that close, even to this day with the expansion of Medina and the urbanization of Medina. The section of Awali isn't that close directly around the Haram. So this hadith says that they used to come from min manazilihim, from their manzils, their homes, whether that's close or far, and also from the Awali. Now this hadith does not directly state that it's mandatory for them to attend Jumu'ah from the Awali, the far distance. But she quotes that that's what they used to do. That is what the yantabuna, they used to do. It was something that they did. It wasn't once or twice, they would constantly do it. They would go back and forth, every week, etc. So this hadith indirectly states, or indirectly teaches us, is that Jumu'ah is an obligation in general, and someone may argue, and someone may say, that attending Jumu'ah does not have the same ruling as attending the Jama'ah, which is based upon what? Hearing the nida, and the natural God-given ability to make the event, and not the man-made system of microphones, apps, and electronic things. But the natural sound without that. You heard that just now? That air train? That's a disturbance. The white noise, this buzzing, this generator, this car, this truck, this bus, all of those things. If it was a blackout, you would hear what? Deafening silence. And you would hear things far easier than with the electricity buzzing and running. So how far does the man's voice travel who ascends the roof? Strong voiced man. Allahu Akbar. How many blocks will that go? That radius would be the radius of those who have to attend Jumu'ah, or Jama'ah rather. Speaking about Jama'ah. Alright, the nida. All right, now obviously things are different. We have electricity, which is a blessing and a curse. Some people look at it as making their lives easier. In many aspects, electricity does. But one may argue that every blessing that electricity has brought is also brought a curse. So you have refrigerators, right? You don't have to go out and hunt and fish and do this. You can have food. But the freshness of the food that you're eating, the freshness of the fruits and vegetables that you're eating, how long is the thing sitting there on your shelf? Okay? Also, please. The concept of people staying up at nighttime. Electricity gives you light. You can read, you can study, you can pray. Well, people would normally go to sleep at night. They would work on the farm, they would work in the forest, they were fishermen, whatever they were doing. And then when it was dark time, Maghrib, you have your meal, whatever the case may be, you rub the balm on your sore hands from working all day. And then what? After Salat al-Isha was sleep. But nowadays, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., people are wide awake because of electricity. And there are many, many other double-sided coins in which you can look at many things of technology which are a ni'mah, but at the same time, they're misused and they come with major problems. And from that is electricity. Okay? So the concept of a person hearing the adhan naturally, and what is that radius? This hadith Aisha mentions, min manazilihim wa min al-awali. The second narration is that which is reported, Imam Abu Dawood rahimahullah, he says, reported by Abdullah bin Amr bin al-As, that the Prophet ﷺ said, Jumu'ah is mandatory upon those who hear the call, those who hear the nidat. And Imam Abu Dawood, he mentions a discrepancy with this hadith, and one of the narrators, Qabisa khalafa al-Jama'ah, shadda anhum, tafarrada anhum. Okay, the other narrators mentioned that Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As said that, and not the Prophet, meaning it's mawquf and not marfu'. Okay, and that's a very long discussion in regards to the sciences of hadith when the narrators differ, right? You can make an example of this. You say that, or let's say you have 4 brothers, there's 5 of you, 5 sons, 4 brothers. So you say that father said, all for glory. Mathalan. Glory means everything in life. And the remaining brothers, the other 4 brothers, they say, no, father never said that. Grandfather said that. So you guys are different on who that statement, all for glory, is attributed to. So is it 1 versus 4? Whose statement do we take? 4 versus 1. One may say we take the 4, obviously. And another person may say, no, this one has the best memory. And he stood in the company of the father the most. And he was listening to the father when they were doing other things. What's important is that there's discrepancy of who this statement is attributed to. The father or the grandfather. And it's a big difference. Grandfather was a merchant. The father was an actual warrior. It's a big difference in the ruling now and the impact of that statement. So did Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As say that? Or was it a Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam who said that? Alright, ta'arud al-wasl wal-irsal, ta'arud al-raf' wal-waqf, وهكذا. What's important is that this is a discussion on who Jumu'ah is mandatory upon. And of course the ulama of Islam, they have mentioned those who have to attend Jumu'ah. Males who are free, not in bondage, who are healthy, not sick, who are residents, not traveling. And those who can attend the Jumu'ah bi'idhnillahi ta'ala without a major hardship, extreme difficulty, extreme remoteness, very, very, very far, something which is a very pressing difficulty that will prevent them from doing so. As far as women are not required to go to Jumu'ah. Travelers are not required to go to Jumu'ah. Sick people are not required to go to Jumu'ah. Children are not required to go to Jumu'ah. If a man was captured and he was a slave, he's not required to go to Jumu'ah. If a person was scared and afraid something was going to harm him, he doesn't necessarily have to go to Jumu'ah. Alright? And if a woman or child, if they want to go to Jumu'ah, then that's best. to hear the dhikr, to be with the Muslims, to pray, to get the reward, to get the barakat, but it's not an issue of obligation. Now the question lies, what's the distance from which Jumu'ah becomes mandatory? I'm far from the masjid, brother. I'm going to travel from a whole other city or state or borough to come to Jumu'ah at 1:15. I work in Manhattan, but I'm coming to Queens for Jumu'ah. Or I live in a different neighborhood, a different section of Queens. I'm going to come to Jamaica, to South Ozone Park for Jumu'ah. Do I have to do that? Or is it only mandatory for me to make Jumu'ah in my locale? Everyone understand this? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. And with him is all success.
So,
وإياكم.